Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we invite you to step beyond the veil of reality and into the shadowy realms of the unknown. Welcome to Whispers in the Dark, a journey into the depths of the human psyche and the mysteries that lie beyond our comprehension. In this series, each tale is a labyrinth of secrets and surprises, a journey not just through space and time, but through the inner corridors of the mind. Here, in the world of Whispers in the Dark, nothing is as it seems. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, the familiar turns alien, and the faint whispers in the dark hold truths more profound than the loudest declarations in the light. Tonight's story, like those that will follow, treads the fine line between the real and the surreal, the tangible and the ethereal. It challenges the boundaries of belief and tests the limits of reality. It's a tale of choices and consequences, of secrets hidden in the shadows, and of the unseen forces that shape our destinies. So, I urge you, dear viewer, to suspend your disbelief and open your mind, for in the world of Whispers in the Dark, the only thing more terrifying than the unknown is the possibility that you might actually find the answers you seek. Prepare to embark on a journey where the darkness whispers and its echoes reveal the mysteries of the universe and the enigmas of the soul. This is Whispers in the Dark. In the quiet confines of her dimly lit laboratory, Dr. Elaine Harris sat hunched over a cluttered desk, her eyes fixed on a series of complex equations scrawled across numerous chalkboards. The soft hum of advanced machinery filled the air, creating a cocoon of isolation from the outside world. This lab, tucked away in a forgotten wing of the physics department, had become her sanctuary, her escape from a reality too painful to bear. Dr. Harris was a woman of about 40, her once bright eyes now shadowed by grief. Her hair, once meticulously styled, now fell in unkempt waves around her face. It was clear that the lab was not just a workplace for her, but a refuge from the haunting memories that lurked beyond its walls. A decade ago, Elaine's world had been shattered in a single irrevocable moment. Her daughter, Lily, a vibrant 8-year-old with a laugh that could light up a room, had been taken from her. A car accident, sudden and senseless, had snatched away her only child, leaving Elaine in a vortex of unending sorrow. The grief had consumed her, turning her once passionate pursuit of science into an obsessive quest to undo the past. Every waking moment, every ounce of her formidable intellect was now devoted to one purpose: developing a technology to travel back in time. Photos of Lily, frozen in moments of joy and innocence, adorned the walls of the lab. They served as a constant reminder of what had been lost, fueling Elaine's determination. She had pored over every textbook, every research paper, every obscure theory in the field of temporal mechanics. What had started as a theoretical exploration had slowly morphed into a tangible possibility. The lab was filled with prototypes and gadgets, remnants of her numerous experiments. At the center of the room stood the culmination of her work, a sleek, pod-like structure, adorned with a labyrinth of wires and tubes. It was the prototype of her time machine, a device that defied the laws of physics as the world knew them. Elaine's colleagues had dismissed her theories as grief-induced madness, a brilliant mind led astray by tragedy. But she knew better. She had seen the glimmers of possibility, the small anomalies in her experiments that hinted at the potential to breach the temporal barrier. As she sat there, surrounded by the ghosts of her former life and the echoes of a future she yearned to change, Elaine felt a mix of fear and anticipation. Tonight, she would test the machine. She would go back to that fateful day and save Lily. In her heart, she harbored no doubts, only the unshakable belief that she could rewrite her history. The clock in the lab ticked steadily, marking the passage of time, a concept that had become Elaine's greatest adversary and her only hope. With each tick, she drew closer to the moment of truth, to the leap into the unknown that could either bring back her lost world or plunge her into deeper darkness. With a deep breath, Elaine stood up and approached the time machine. Her hand trembled slightly as she caressed its smooth surface. This was her chance, her only chance, to erase the pain, to hold her daughter once again. As the lab's clock struck midnight, marking the beginning of a new day, Dr. Elaine Harris made her decision. She would step into the machine, into the void of time, and face whatever consequences awaited. For a chance to see Lily's smile again, she was willing to risk everything. Dr. Elaine Harris stepped into the time machine, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. The interior of the pod was surprisingly sparse, just a single chair in the center surrounded by control panels and screens. She settled into the chair, her fingers running over the controls she knew so well, each button and dial meticulously designed by her own hands. As she initiated the sequence, the machine hummed to life, the sound growing steadily louder, filling the small space. She felt a strange sensation, as if the very air around her was vibrating, charged with unseen energy. Her skin tingled, and her stomach churned with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Elaine braced herself as the machine reached its critical point. A brilliant flash of light engulfed her, and for a moment she felt as if she were being stretched and compressed simultaneously, her body contorting under the immense forces of temporal displacement. It was a sensation beyond words, beyond anything she had ever experienced, a physical manifestation of time itself bending around her. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the sensation ceased. The light faded, and the hum of the machine quieted to a gentle purr. Elaine opened her eyes to find herself still in the pod, but she knew instantly that she had arrived at her destination. The date on the control panel confirmed it. She was back on the day of the accident. Her heart raced with a mixture of elation and trepidation. This was it, her chance to save Lily. She exited the pod, which she had disguised and hidden in a secluded area, and made her way to the familiar streets of her past. Everything was as she remembered, the sights, the sounds, the smells, yet it all felt surreal, like stepping into a memory. Elaine knew the exact timeline of events that would lead to the accident. She positioned herself at the crucial intersection, her eyes scanning the busy street for the car that would carry her daughter to her untimely death. And then she saw it, the familiar family car, with Lily in the back seat, her small face visible through the window. Elaine's heart ached at the sight of her daughter, alive and so close. As the car approached the intersection, Elaine stepped into the street, directly into the path of the oncoming vehicle. Her appearance caused her past self, who was driving the car, to slam on the brakes, stopping the car just inches from Elaine. The accident that would have taken Lily's life was averted. The relief that washed over Elaine was indescribable. She had done it. She had changed history. She watched as her past self, shocked and confused, exited the car. Avoiding any interaction, Elaine quickly retreated, making her way back to the time machine, her mission accomplished. As she returned to the pod, her mind was a whirlwind of emotions. She had saved her daughter, but now she needed to return to her own time to see the fruits of her intervention. With trembling hands, she initiated the return sequence, the machine once again coming to life around her. The journey back was as disorienting as the first, the sensations of time travel overwhelming her senses. But this time, there was a triumphant smile on Elaine's face. She had defied the laws of nature, rewritten her own story. She braced herself for the new world that awaited her, a world where Lily was still alive. The time machine shuddered and hummed as it completed its journey back to Elaine's original time. As the light and vibration subsided, she felt the familiar sense of disorientation, but it was quickly overshadowed by a surge of anticipation. She was eager to embrace the new reality she had created, a world where her daughter was alive. Elaine stepped out of the pod, expecting to find herself in the comforting confines of her lab. Instead, she was greeted by an abandoned warehouse, dust-laden and derelict. Confusion clouded her mind. This was where her lab should be, where she had left from. Her heart began to race as she realized something was terribly wrong. She hurried outside, her eyes scanning the altered landscape. The city that had once been a bustling hub of technology and progress was now unrecognizable. Buildings were in disrepair, streets were littered with debris, and the air had a stagnant, heavy quality to it. The advanced technologies she was used to were nowhere to be seen. Instead, the world looked like it had regressed decades into the past. A deep sense of dread settled over Elaine as she navigated the unfamiliar streets. She needed to find her daughter, to see with her own eyes that Lily was safe. but as she reached the neighborhood where her home once stood, her heart sank. In place of her cozy, well-kept house was an old, run-down building. She knocked on the door, her hands trembling. A young girl answered, her face a mirror image of Lily, but her eyes held no recognition. "Can I help you?" the girl asked, wary of the stranger at her doorstep. Elaine's voice broke as she spoke. "Lily, it's me, it's your mom." "I think you have the wrong house. My name's not Lily, and I don't know you." The realization hit Elaine like a physical blow. In changing the past, she had altered the present beyond recognition. Her daughter was alive, but not the Lily she knew. She was a stranger in this new reality. Elaine's mind raced as she tried to piece together what had happened. She had saved Lily, but in doing so she had inadvertently disrupted the chain of events that led to the creation of the time machine. Without her original research and development, the technology never existed in this timeline. She wandered the streets, lost in a world that was both familiar and alien. Everywhere she looked, she saw the consequences of her actions. The advancements she had contributed to, the progress she had been a part of, all of it was gone. The weight of her decision bore down on her. She had wanted to undo a tragedy, but in her desperation, she had unraveled the fabric of her reality. The world she knew, the life she had led, the daughter she had loved, all were lost in the echoes of the timeline she had undone. Elaine realized that her quest to change the past had come at a price she had never imagined. She had hoped to reclaim her lost happiness, but instead she found herself in a dystopian reality, a stranger to her own daughter, and a witness to the collapse of the world she had once known. The horror of what she had done, the enormity of her mistake, settled over her, leaving her to ponder the irrevocable consequences of tampering with time. Dr. Elaine Harris, a mother driven by grief, sought to undo the tragedy that had befallen her. Armed with her brilliance in physics, she embarked on a journey across the very fabric of time, a journey to change a past that haunted her every waking moment. But as Elaine has now painfully discovered, the threads of time are intricately woven, each strand connected in ways far beyond our understanding. In her quest to bring back her daughter, Elaine did not foresee the cascade of changes that would unfold from her actions. Dr. Harris now walks the streets of a reality that is no longer her own, a reality where her daughter is a stranger, and the fruits of her life's work have vanished into the ether. The time machine, her greatest achievement and the instrument of her downfall, no longer exists in this altered timeline. In her desperation to rewrite history, Elaine failed to consider the delicate balance of cause and effect, the unseen connections that bind the tapestry of existence. She has learned the harshest of truths, that the past, no matter how painful, is the foundation upon which the present is built. To alter one is to unravel the other, to reshape the world in ways unimaginable. As Dr. Harris grapples with the magnitude of her actions, she stands at a crossroads of her own making. The choice she made in a moment of profound sorrow has irrevocably altered the course of countless lives, including her own. Now she must confront the consequences of her journey through time, a journey that has led her to a world unrecognizable, a world where she is both a savior and a stranger. In the realm of time travel, intentions, however noble, often lead to unforeseen consequences. Dr. Elaine Harris's story is a testament to this timeless truth, a reminder that the fabric of time is not to be tampered with lightly. Elaine, now a wanderer in a world she had inadvertently created, found herself aimlessly walking the unfamiliar streets, her mind a whirlwind of regret and confusion. As she pondered her next move, lost in her thoughts, a group of enigmatic figures approached her. They moved with a purpose and grace that seemed almost otherworldly, setting them apart from the downtrodden populace of this altered reality. The leader of the group, a woman with an ageless face and piercing eyes, stepped forward. "Dr. Elaine Harris," she said in a voice that resonated with a calm authority, "we are the timekeepers, guardians of the temporal order. We have been watching you." Elaine's heart skipped a beat. Timekeepers? The concept was something out of science fiction, yet here they were, standing before her. Their presence, their knowledge of her actions, filled her with a mix of fear and awe. "You have disrupted the balance of time," the timekeeper continued. Your intervention has caused ripples through the fabric of reality, altering not just your own life, but the lives of countless others." Elaine felt a deep sense of shame wash over her. She had thought only of her pain, her loss. She had not considered the wider implications of her actions, the potential harm she could cause to the fabric of reality. "What can be done?" Elaine asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is there a way to undo what I've done?" The timekeeper regarded her with a sympathetic yet stern gaze. "The damage to the timeline is severe. However, there is one course of action left to you. You must go back once more and allow the original events to transpire. You must let the past unfold as it was meant to." The thought of going back, of allowing her daughter's death to happen, was unbearable. Elaine felt her knees weaken under the weight of the decision. To save the world she had destroyed, she would have to lose Lily all over again. "But how?" Elaine questioned, her mind racing. "The time machine doesn't exist in this world. I don't have the means to go back again." "We timekeepers possess the ability to traverse the timelines," the leader replied. "We can send you back, but this will be your final journey through time. Once you complete this task, you will return to your original timeline, and all will be as it was." Elaine's heart was torn. The thought of seeing Lily, even for a moment, filled her with longing. But the knowledge of what she must do was a torment like no other. She would be saving a world, but at the cost of her daughter's life. The timekeepers waited patiently, their expressions solemn. They understood the gravity of Elaine's decision, the unbearable sacrifice she was being asked to make. With tears streaming down her face, Elaine nodded. "I'll do it," she said, her voice laced with sorrow. "I'll go back." The timekeepers moved to surround her, their hands raised in a strange, intricate gesture. A soft light began to emanate from their fingers, enveloping Elaine in a warm, comforting glow. She closed her eyes, bracing herself for the journey back, for the moment she would change everything once again. As the light grew brighter, Elaine thought of Lily, of the precious moments they had shared. She held on to those memories, those fleeting seconds of joy, as she prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. And with that, she stepped into the light, into the past, ready to face her destiny. The journey back through time was a maelstrom of light and emotion for Elaine. As the timekeeper's power enveloped her, she felt as if she were being pulled through a tunnel of swirling colors, each hue blending into the next in a dizzying display. The sensation was overwhelming, far more intense than her initial trip in the time machine. It was as if the very essence of time itself was flowing through her, reshaping her reality with every passing second. As the light subsided, Elaine found herself back on that fateful day, the day of her daughter's accident. Her heart was heavy with the knowledge of what she had to do, or rather what she couldn't do. She was a silent observer, hidden from sight, forced to watch the tragic events unfold just as they had years ago. She saw her past self, her daughter Lily laughing in the back seat, the joyous moments before the world came crashing down. And then, the accident, unavoidable and devastating. Elaine's heart broke all over again, the pain just as raw and piercing as it had been the first time. But she stood firm, knowing the necessity of her inaction. As the accident occurred, the timekeepers, who had remained invisible to the world, subtly ensured the preservation of the timeline. Their presence was a silent guardian against any further disruptions, their focus entirely on maintaining the delicate balance of events. When Elaine opened her eyes, she was back in her lab, the time machine humming quietly in the center of the room. It was as if she had never left, the familiar sights and sounds a bittersweet reminder of what had transpired. She looked around, taking in the details of the world she had returned to, the world she had originally known. The realization that everything was as it had been before her time-traveling escapades hit her with a mix of relief and profound sadness. She had saved the integrity of the timeline, but at the cost of reliving her greatest loss. Elaine walked over to the time machine, her hand hesitating over the controls. She knew now that some things were not meant to be tampered with, that the past had to be accepted, no matter how painful. With a resolute sigh, she began the process of shutting down the machine, intending to dismantle it and put an end to any further temptations. As she worked, Her eyes fell upon the photographs of Lily, smiling and full of life. She had been given a chance to see her daughter one last time, to say goodbye in her heart. The grief would always be a part of her, but so would the love and the memories they had shared. Elaine realized that it was time to move forward, to live in the present and cherish the time she had with Lily, however short it might have been. With the time machine finally silent, Elaine left the lab, closing the door behind her. She stepped out into the world, a world where Lily's laughter was a memory, but also where Elaine's own future was still waiting to be written. She had come full circle, back to where it all began, but she was no longer the same person. She had learned the hardest of lessons, and now it was time to live again, carrying the memory of her daughter in her heart.